Johnny wouldn't have did nothing better than what I got in my mind, which I don't understand. Johnny wanted to put some smile in my mind because he didn't want to go the size that I didn't want to go to because he didn't want to do what I wanted to do for the money.
Not long ago, Sauce Walka dragged Johnny Dang to filth for selling him fake diamond jewelry. However, word is that NBA YoungBoy just joined the conversation and has even sent a warning to Johnny for the same fake jewelry. Well, let's take a look at how YoungBoy's name ended up in the middle of it. The King of Bling. Johnny Dang arrived in the United States in 1996 with no English, no connections, and no money. He was 23 years old when he landed in Houston to reunite with his father, who had escaped Vietnam by boat nearly a decade earlier and set up a small jewelry repair operation in the city. On his second day in the country, Dang was behind a flea market booth, repairing gold by hand. By 1998, he had his first store, TV Jewelry, inside Sharpstown Mall. By 2002, he had a business partner named Paul Wall and a new name for the shop, Johnny Dang & Co. What Dang understood early was the gap between what hip-hop wanted from jewelry and what the industry was offering at the time. He built custom diamond grills that did not require filing down teeth, a painful and standard practice elsewhere. Paul Wall wore them. Rappers saw Paul Wall. They came to Houston. They kept coming. Nelly referenced him in grills in 2006. Kanye West came through. Jay-Z came through. Beyonce, Travis Scott, Lil Wayne, Chief Keef, 21 Savage, Nicki Minaj, Cardi B, all of them have pieces from Johnny Dang & Co. Simone Biles got custom wedding grills there in 2023. The shop moved from the mall to a standalone flagship at 6224 Richmond Ave in Houston in 2016. 16,000 square feet, 50-plus jewelers working in-house, a VIP grills wall displaying every celebrity client's mold and photo. The man built an empire worth an estimated $200 million, not by luck and not by accident, by understanding exactly what rappers needed, delivering it consistently, and treating every client the same whether they were spending $500 or $500,000. So when March 2026 arrived and the internet started asking serious questions about what was actually inside those pieces, about whether the diamonds in the chains and grills that had built that empire were what they were sold as, the whole industry paid attention. The claim that drove the conversation was specific and damaging, that Johnny Dang & Co. had been selling lab-grown CVD diamonds to clients, while charging them the price of natural mined stones. CVD stands for chemical vapor deposition, a process that creates diamonds in a laboratory by exposing carbon-rich gas to controlled temperatures and pressures. The result is chemically identical to a natural mined diamond. Same carbon structure, same hardness, same fire under light. A basic diamond tester cannot distinguish between the two. Neither can the naked eye, or even most trained jewelers without specialized equipment. What distinguishes them is price. A 2-carat natural mined diamond might cost a jeweler $20,000 to acquire. A CVD equivalent of the same size might cost $3,000 to $5,000. If a finished piece carries a $100,000 price tag and the buyer believes every stone is natural and the stones are lab-grown, the jeweler pockets the difference. The buyer has no way of knowing without sending their stones to a certified gemological lab for advanced spectroscopic testing, equipment that does not exist in a rap studio or a jewelry showroom, and that most buyers would never think to seek out from someone they have trusted for years. That was the accusation. And it surfaced not from a court filing, not from a news investigation, but from social media, Instagram lives and YouTube compilations that went viral starting March 17, 2026. Titles like "Sauce Walka exposes Johnny Dang for selling fake diamonds" lit up the hip-hop side of YouTube and spread to TikTok, X, and Facebook within hours. The views climbed into the hundreds of thousands in days. The voice leading the charge was not a journalist or a regulator. It was a Houston rapper named Sauce Walka, a man who had spent over 20 years and, by his own account, millions of dollars as a Johnny Dang customer. And the things he said in those viral clips were not vague or hedged. They were direct, personal, and very loud. The story spread fast because it had the architecture of something people already wanted to believe, that the floss was manufactured, that the shine was hollow, that the rappers wearing hundreds of thousands of dollars in ice might not have known what they were actually buying. And once it started spreading, more names got pulled in. To understand where NBA YoungBoy fits in this story, or whether he fits in it at all, you have to start where the fire started, with Sauce Walka, with 20 years of trust, and with the exact moment that trust ran out. 20 years of trust. The relationship between Sauce Walka and Johnny Dang was not a business arrangement, it was a bond, the kind forged slowly over 2 decades of transactions that blur the line between commerce and brotherhood, where the jeweler knows the client's tooth structure from memory and the client refers his entire circle to the shop without being asked, not because of an incentive, but because of belief. Sauce Walka, Houston rapper, TSF gang founder, one of the most aesthetically maximalist figures in the city's rap scene, had been spending with Johnny Dang since the early 2000s. He was not a passive customer, he was a walking proof of concept. Every time Walka stepped out in a piece, every music video flex, every Instagram post, every concert appearance in front of thousands of people, he was putting the Johnny Dang name in front of exactly the audience the brand needed to reach. And over 20 plus years, he reportedly spent millions doing it. The most talked about single purchase in their relationship was the $500,000 Cuban link chain, a deal significant enough that it was reportedly handled inside a Chase Bank branch, with Johnny Dang personally delivering the finished piece. Both men posted about it publicly. It was a celebration of what 2 decades of loyalty and spending had produced.
I'm the one spent the $500,000. I did that. I'm the only that got the same necklace that Floyd Mayweather got.
$500,000, the same piece as Floyd Mayweather. Walka wore that distinction like a second chain around his neck, the pride of a man who believed his relationship with his jeweler was operating at the highest level money could reach.
How many rappers you put the chain on and they walked out this hole? Not with you. I see you put it on another rapper.
Even in that same clip, the current of something unresolved runs underneath the surface. Walka knew that other rappers walked through that shop, got pieces put on them, and kept it moving. He understood his own loyalty as something that set him apart from the traffic, as something that deserved to be recognized differently. He had invested in the relationship for 2 decades. He believed in it with his money and his name. The other landmark purchase was the $300,000 diamond ring, commissioned in the aftermath of a Memphis shooting that Walka survived. He walked out of a hospital and walked into Johnny Dang's shop and spent $300,000 on a piece to mark being alive. That is not the behavior of a man with doubts. That is the behavior of a man who, in one of the most charged moments of his life, chose a specific jeweler to celebrate survival. And then, at some point between that, ring in August 2024, something cracked. The immediate spark for the public break was the grill. Sauce Walka had a vision, the biggest permanent diamond grill ever made. 28 teeth, 50 plus carats, rose gold, 3 carat and 1 carat stones throughout. A piece that had never been built before and could not be confused with anything that had. He went to Johnny Dang first. What happened in that conversation is described differently by each side, but the core of the disagreement is documented in what Walka said on camera.
Johnny wouldn't have did nothing better than what I got in my mind, which I don't understand. Johnny wanted to put some smile in my mind.
Dang, by Walka's account, wanted to put something smaller in his mouth, something more proportional, something that would fit the way grills are supposed to fit. Walka was not interested.
I don't want no free. He wanted to give me some free shit that was way smaller than this. I don't want no free.
Dang had reportedly offered Walka free pieces, a gesture that, in any other context between a jeweler and a long-term client, would have read as generosity built over years. Walka heard it as a ceiling being placed on what he was allowed to have. He rejected it completely.
I want my money and I want to go over the top, best of the best, biggest of the biggest, make it work. That's not gonna fit.
He wanted to pay. He wanted to pay $1 million for the largest grill a human being had ever inserted into their mouth. He wanted a jeweler who would make that happen without flinching.
It's not gonna fit in your mouth, correct? It's not gonna, I don't give a fuck if it's gonna fit. Make it fit.
Make it fit. That is the sentence that defines the entire break. After 20 plus years, after $500,000 for a single chain, after $300,000 for a ring bought in the shadow of a near-death experience, when Johnny Dang said the piece Walka wanted could not be made the way he wanted it made, Walka went somewhere else. He went to plug Gio, a man who had spent years working inside Johnny Dang's shop as one of its most productive designers, before walking out in April 2021 with a list of grievances and, critically, a set of knowledge about the internal operations of the business that would take years to fully detonate. The $1 million permanent diamond grill that Gio produced was installed at the dentist's office on camera. In the video, Walka's old Johnny Dang grills were physically removed from his mouth before Gio's work went in. The symbolism was not subtle. 20 years of loyalty removed tooth by tooth. And when those clips hit social media in August 2024 and reignited in March 2026, what had begun as a disagreement over grill dimensions quickly became something far more combustible. Because when Walka started talking talking publicly about what he believed was wrong with the pieces he had purchased across 2 decades, the conversation shifted from size to substance, from too small to too fake. And the word that kept surfacing in the viral expose videos and the social media threads and the YouTube comment sections that lit up with thousands of responses was CVD. The March 2026 expose videos framed it without ambiguity. Lab-grown diamonds charged at natural diamond prices, sold to clients who trusted the shop completely and had no reason to question what they were being given. I spent millions with this man. Come to find out, half my ice fake. Lab shit disguised as VVS natural. He knew. This ain't no mistake, this robbery. Those words broke the internet, and with them came the second voice in the story. The one that said he had not just experienced the alleged fraud from the outside, but had watched it operate from within the walls of the shop itself. The insider. In the diamond industry, there is a principle called full disclosure, the foundational obligation that a seller must tell a buyer exactly what they are purchasing. Natural mined stones and lab-grown stones carry different documentation. GIA certificates, the gold standard in gemological certification, the credential that the industry trusts above all others, state clearly whether a diamond was formed over billions of years deep in the earth or grown in a laboratory over the course of several weeks. A jeweler who sells a lab-grown stone without disclosing its origin is not merely being opaque. In the context of a piece priced at natural diamond rates, the allegation is straightforward. It is fraud. Plug Geo, real name Jose Mata, known also as Geo Mata, Plug Geo, or Mr. 10F1, was inside Johnny Dang and Co. long enough to understand exactly how the stones were being sourced, how they moved through the manufacturing process, and how they were ultimately represented to the clients paying premium prices for the finished pieces. He arrived as a craftsman. He was good, exceptionally good. His eye for custom design, his speed, and his ability to build and maintain client relationships made him one of the shop's most valuable assets. The scale of his contribution is something Geo himself put into numbers. $9 million in revenue generated in a single year. In the custom hip-hop jewelry business, where individual pieces might range from $10,000 to several $100,000, generating $9 million in 12 months requires not just craftsmanship, but trust. It requires clients who come back specifically for you, who send their people specifically to you, who build an entire purchasing relationship on the strength of your name within the shop's walls. And then, in April 2021, Geo walked out and went on camera. What he described in that 2021 video was the structural foundation of everything that would explode across hip-hop 5 years later. He alleged that Johnny Dang and Co. had been inserting CVD lab-grown diamonds into pieces that were sold to customers as containing natural mined stones, not as a one-time incident or a sourcing error, but as a systemic practice, operating with knowledge of what was being done and to whom it was being done. The economics he laid out were devastating in their clarity. A natural 2-carat diamond might cost the shop $20,000 to acquire on the wholesale market. A CVD 2-carat stone of equivalent visual quality might cost $3,000 to $5,000, sometimes less. If the finished piece carries a price tag of $100,000, priced on the promise that every stone is natural, the shop theoretically pockets $60,000 to $65,000 more than it would if it disclosed the origin of the stone and priced accordingly. Multiplied across dozens of pieces per month, across years of operation, at the scale Johnny Dang and Co. operates, the alleged profit margin becomes a staggering number. But Geo's allegations extended beyond the diamond sourcing. They reached into the treatment of the people who made the operation run. He had generated $9 million in a single year for the business. His commission rate was set at 2%. When he pushed back and requested 4%, he was told no. When he requested a raise in base compensation, the offer extended to him was $2 additional per hour. In Geo's own words, "I made you $9 million in a year. Just give me 4% commission." He would give me 2% commission, and then when I asked him for a raise, he said, "Oh, I'm going to give you a $2 raise." Then Sauce Walka made his move, and the fuse that had been sitting there since 2021 finally found the flame it needed. It is worth being precise about what CVD diamonds are, because precision matters here. They are not fake. They are real diamonds in every scientific and physical sense. Same carbon structure, same hardness rating, same optical properties, same behavior under UV light. The controversy in this story is not about whether lab-grown diamonds are inferior stones. It is about disclosure and pricing parity. If a buyer pays for natural mined stones and receives lab-grown stones at the same price without being told about the distinction, the issue is not quality, it is the integrity of the transaction. And that distinction, real versus natural, disclosed versus undisclosed, is precisely what a basic handheld diamond tester is incapable of resolving. It is what makes Geo's insider testimony about sourcing so structurally structurally damaging to Dang's position. And it is what Dang's own public statement about the near impossibility of distinguishing lab-grown from natural with the naked eye, a statement that is factually correct, was read as, by a significant portion of the listening audience, as something that landed far closer to an admission than a defense. The ripple effect. The March 2026 Johnny Dang scandal spread outward in 3 distinct waves, each traveling in a different direction and finding a different set of names to fold into the narrative. The first wave traveled backward in time, more than a decade backward, to a July 2014 moment that most people in the conversation had either forgotten or never known about in the first place. Chief Keef had been a documented Johnny Dang customer for years, wearing the shop's custom pieces the way serious collectors approach heritage brands, not just as ornamentation, but as a declaration of belonging to a specific tier of the culture. In July 2014, he walked into a K Jewelers at a California mall and placed his Johnny Dang pendant and his diamond watch on a standard handheld diamond tester, the thermal conductivity device found at most jewelry counters, designed to distinguish diamond material from common simulants like cubic zirconia or moissanite. Both pieces registered green. Green in the language of that tester means diamond, not glass, not zirconia, not any of the ordinary substitutes that get slipped into cheaper pieces. Keef posted the result on Instagram. When you see green, who's smart enough to know what that means? In 2014, it was a clean, confident flex. In 2026, when YouTube recap channels excavated the clip and placed it alongside the new CVD allegations, it became something layered and troubling in ways Keef could not have anticipated when he first posted it. Because the problem at the center of every claim in this scandal is precisely this. Basic diamond testers measure thermal conductivity. The device Keef used in 2014 was structurally incapable of answering the question the 2026 scandal was actually asking, not whether the stones were diamonds, but whether they came from the earth or from a laboratory. His test proved the pieces were not obvious counterfeits. It could not and did not prove anything about the origin of the stones. The second wave traveled northwest from Houston into Chicago, and it arrived via King Yella. Shortly before March 26, 2026, King Yella went live. His broadcast covered O-Block history, King Von, internal Chicago drill politics, and the mythology that surrounds Parkway Gardens as a cultural institution. But in the course of a wide-ranging rant about image, status, and the visual economy of the drill scene, where iced-out jewelry is not decoration, but social infrastructure, a language that communicates rank and survival simultaneously, he made a claim that found its way into the scandal's orbit with the speed of a stray spark in a dry room. He alleged that questionable Johnny Dang pieces had been circulating among O-Block affiliates, not an itemized accusation, not specific pieces, specific names, specific transactions with documentation attached, but in a scandal already burning at scale across hip-hop's attention span. A claim from a credible Chicago voice suggesting the reach of the alleged fraud extended into one of the most mythologized circles in drill was sufficient to generate its own cascade of content. The third wave of the ripple connected directly to Lil Durk, and it relied entirely on footage and posts that were already years old, stripped of their original context, and redeployed in service of a narrative they were never designed to support. In September 2021, in the midst of the wave of celebrity jewelry fraud stories that crested with the high-profile Lil Baby fake Patek Philippe scandal, a $400,000 watch purchased on the secondary market from a New York jeweler that turned out not to be what it was sold as, Lil Durk posted 2 Instagram stories that were immediately screenshotted and spread across hip-hop media. The first, "Stop buying all this jewelry without knowing what you doing. A lot of the shit fake and some is overpriced. Get one jeweler and stick to him. I'm telling you, y'all are gonna be pissed when the truth come out." The second, posted months later in early 2022, "Don't blame the rapper or athletes no mo. Blame the jeweler for selling them that bogus ass shit." At the time, Complex, XXL, and Revolt treated these as industry-wide consumer warnings. No jeweler was named, no specific shop was identified. Durk was speaking about the ecosystem broadly, the secondary market, undisclosed synthetics, overpricing, and the broader culture of accepting what a jeweler tells you without independent verification. His advice to pick one trusted jeweler and commit to that relationship was practical counsel, not a targeted accusation.
Yes, Johnny. You ain't going to him, don't go to nobody.
Lil Durk inside Johnny Dang's shop getting a permanent grill fitted, endorsing the man directly on camera as his personal jeweler of choice. The footage told a story that the misleading 2026 titles actively concealed, and yet the titles generated clicks in the hundreds of thousands, because the algorithm rewards the framing, not the facts behind it. Smaller voices got pulled in too. An artist named Money Gang Slugga spoke on camera about switching from Johnny Dang to a different jeweler he called King Johnny, citing extended wait times, and the feeling that the shop prioritized major celebrities at the expense of newer clients still building their name.
We had ordered this piece from Johnny Dang, and I don't know what was going on. This was like the time the baby and them was going crazy, going to get shit from him.
His specific complaint was not about diamond authenticity. It was about service, about the experience of waiting 90 days for a piece while watching the shop post celebrity clients in and out in 3 or 4 days. But in the climate of March 2026, any story about leaving Johnny Dang for a different jeweler got absorbed into the larger narrative automatically.
Sit down and talk to for a minute and see what I got going on.
That was what he wanted from a jeweler, a conversation, a human relationship where the client felt seen as something more than a transaction, what he felt he was not receiving at Johnny Dang. By the time the ripple had moved through Houston, through Chicago, through the broader rap internet, Johnny Dang's reputation was under pressure from multiple directions simultaneously, and none of the rappers whose names were appearing most prominently in the headlines had produced receipts, independent lab reports, or legal filings to anchor the claims. The court of public opinion was running on social media momentum, recycled footage, and the raw credibility of insider voices who had their own reasons to speak, which meant that when Johnny Dang gave his full response, the ground he was standing on was already shaking. The verdict. Johnny Dang did not respond to the March 2026 wave the way the internet expected him to. There were no diss tracks, no threats fired back across social media, no public war of words with anyone who had spoken against him. Not Sauce Walka, not Plug Geo, not the recap channels amplifying the story to millions of viewers. The man who had built his empire from a flea market booth in Houston by treating every client the same, from the walk-in customer with $500 to the Grammy-winning artist with $500,000, handled the most public crisis of his career with the same measured, unhurried energy he had always projected. His response had actually begun in August 2024, when Sauce Walka first went public with the grill switch. In the days after the reveal, Dang released a 4-part Instagram video series. He did not come out swinging. He came out with something far more disarming, visible hurt, the voice of a man who felt genuinely betrayed by someone he had served for 2 decades and who believed, or claimed to believe, that the entire public spectacle could have been avoided with a private conversation over dinner. The line that went viral from those videos was not a threat. It was not a rebuttal of any specific allegation. It was a demand for basic respect, a line that landed harder than any counter-accusation could have. You don't need to put my name in there, but if you mention my name, put some respect on my name. If not, keep the fuck my name out your mouth. He revealed that he had reached out to Sauce Walka before any of this became public, that he had attempted to arrange a dinner, a face-to-face conversation, a way to address whatever had deteriorated in the relationship before it became a headline seen by millions. That attempt produced nothing, and so here they were. On the CVD question, the central allegation, the one that, if proven, would represent not just a reputational crisis, but potential legal exposure, Dang did not offer a categorical denial. Instead, he offered an observation about the nature of the stones themselves, that the difference between a lab diamond and a natural diamond is nearly impossible to see with the naked eye, that even a regular consumer cannot tell the difference. That statement is factually accurate in every respect, and it was heard by a significant portion of the internet not as an educational clarification, but as the most damaging kind of near admission, one that answered the wrong question while leaving the right one conspicuously unanswered. He said you cannot tell the difference by looking. He did not say every piece he had ever sold carried GIA certification confirming natural origin. The gap between those two statements became its own conversation. By late March 2026, Dang had shifted his social media strategy toward a sustained transparency campaign. He posted diamond testing videos from inside the shop's manufacturing floor. He documented the in-house stone setting, gold casting, and quality control processes with an openness that had not previously characterized his content at the same level of granularity. He escalated a campaign he had been running for months, exposing counterfeit Johnny Dang operations, overseas scammers who had built mirror websites lifting his brand identity wholesale, street jewelers in other cities selling imitations with his name on them, and viral Chinese operations copying his actual videos and posting them under fraudulent accounts. He made an offer that circulated widely. Any customer who found and reported a fake piece carrying his brand could send him a screenshot on Instagram and be entered into a random drawing for a free authentic item from the shop. He positioned himself not as the source of the problem, but as the primary defender against it, the man whose legitimate reputation was being weaponized by imitators and who was actively working to expose them. And then, without a formal announcement or a press conference, the story resolved itself in the way that much hip-hop conflict eventually resolves. Sauce Walka and Johnny Dang reportedly met met face-to-face at a Houston community event and squashed it. A handshake in the city where the fire had started. The 20-year relationship that had publicly fractured was publicly declared repaired, or at least no longer active as a war. The raid on the Houston store, a viral rumor that spread across social media claiming authorities had descended on Dang's flagship location to investigate fraud allegations, was explicitly debunked by his team. No police reports, no charges, no arrests, no documentation of any law enforcement action tied to the jewelry allegations existed anywhere in the public record. The rumor had spread through the same mechanism as everything else in this cycle, rapidly, loudly, and entirely without verification.